Welcome to part 2. This is a short little video, but kind of different this time. I got out my microscope camera. I brought in my laptop into the shop here. Now this does 640 by 480, so it's not going to be widescreen. You're going to have a border on each side. I don't think most of you would mind that. I inspected this. It's really hard to see in here, even with the microscope camera, because I'm trying to focus it in different angles. It's focusable to a certain extent, and it has a light on it. My issue here is there's nuts and bolts in here, not like the Tektronix where you take a screw out on the outside and the nut is either captured or it's threaded into the bracket. There's at least 3 brackets in here, and there's no way you're going to get any tool in there to hold the nut, let alone putting one back on again. So there's one right here, and I pointed these things out. You'll be seeing some microscope camera footage coming up very soon here, and you're going to see where, right behind this wire here, that's the one right on the very end. That's the easy one to get at. There's at least one in the middle and one on the other end behind the fuse bracket, the fuse holder bracket. And I removed another cap. And that's the one that was hot. You see these 2 places here. C201 is the one that I jumped it out, the first one, that lead broke off, corroded right off. And C207, I removed that. That's the one that was running hot. And that's also a 60 microfarad at 50 volts. I'm not able to find 60 microfarads. I don't have 68s even. I have them in high voltage, and they're huge, and I can't put them in here. They won't fit. So I need to get axle lead, and I think there's 5 caps in here. There's 3 more in here down there, and I can't get at them. This board has to come out. So I'm going to show you. It's not really great video, but I'm going to show you the microscope video. It's going to be right here on this video here. And it's going to be, you can probably see, definitely can see the corrosion that's on these diodes very clearly. But you'll also see, and I'll point it out because I got to audio dub the video. There's no soundtrack for it. And let me show you the back of the scope here, the other side where this board is bolted to. Okay, this holds the board in, this holds the board in, this one, and that's it. These 2 are going to be impossible to get at. Every one of these screws has a nut on the back, so when you take this out, even if you can get it out, the nut's going to fall off. There's no way you can get a socket in there, or let alone anything else. And you can't even get your finger in there to hold it. On this one, yes. That one's right here. So that one I'd have no problem with. There's an L bracket that comes right down. You may not be able to see that too good because the wire's in the way, but it comes down on top of the board. There is also a nut right straight ahead, just to the left of that diode. That would be relatively easy to get at, but there's an identical one halfway down the board and down on the other side, which is even worse and harder to get at. I'm sorry I can't hold a flashlight and hold the camera too and hold the scope on an angle here. I can't do it. So hopefully you can see that. I got to work behind this fuse, this bracket here that holds the fuse and that BNC connector. Well, the board is down in there a ways, and there's 2 screws, one on the end and one in the middle, not counting that one that's on the stud right there, which I pointed out in the other video. And then you got these wires that, unlike Tektronix, they do not plug in. They're soldered in. It feels like solid wire. So a few movements of that and I'll have wires off here, and once it's off, I'm screwed, blued, and tattooed, because there's no way I'd be able to find where it went back on again. So this looks like an impossible job, and I hate to be on the negative side, but I'm always correct when I have a feeling I can't do anything with it. Even if I had the service manual, I don't see how the service manual would tell me how to get this thing out of here. Even if I think it would probably, you have to take out every screw in the back here and take everything out. And no plugs. Everything is wired in. The only plugs you got are right here on the deflection plates of the CRT, but there is no plugs anywhere else in this thing as far as the power supply and the boards are concerned. Now, after I cut out that capacitor was running hot, the second one in that I showed you, C207, I think it's 207, because it was running hot, I put a 47 at 450 volt temporarily on clip leads, because I didn't have a 60 microfarad. I don't think you can get it. I don't have a 68 microfarad 50 volt. I don't have anything near there. The next one up is 100, and it's at 450, and it's huge. But when I put that in, and then temporarily clipped in my other capacitor, which is right here, okay, which replaced the first one, I got a weak display here. The positioning, vertical and horizontal, works. I got a very, very weak, faint display. It stayed on for a while, then it went out, and I didn't do anything to it. I took my scope, the wrong side, and after the C207, that's the second one in, that's the one that was running hot, I put my scope across that capacitor, and I'm getting pure AC coming on it, so I got a shorted diode in here. So this board has to come out, and I counted 8 diodes in here. As close as I can read them, there's 8 of them in here on the bottom side of this board. And if one is shorted, the others soon will be, because they're corroded. And I was just going to replace all 8 of them to do the job right, and replace all 5 of these electrolytics, which I think are all 60 microfarad, 50 volt electrolytics. That's my intention. But if I can't get this board out, or let's put it this way, I can get this out, but I can't guarantee it'll ever go back in again. And I'll probably lose a lot of wires. They'll break off in the movement, and things will get broken, and first thing you know, I'll end up with a piece of junk. Let me show you the microscope footage right now. Okay, as you can see here, we've got the nut up in the upper left hand corner. That's the one that's easy to get at. Sorry about the movement, but very difficult, and it's actually the first time I actually did a recording using the microscope camera. Now there's a nut right on the right hand top side that I just showed you there. That's the stud coming down. And as you can see on these diodes, they're quite corroded. And there's a nut right there. This board, like I say, has to come out. It's the only way you're going to be able to do anything with it. Now I'm not able to get in all the angles I wanted to get into. There's another nut right there in the center of the picture, just to the left of that capacitor. Right there. This is the one of the capacitors in here. C207 has been removed. That's the one that's been hot. This is C206 that you're looking at, and there's two more behind that. And there's another bolt in the middle, just above the bathtub cap. Those are the fuse holders on the right hand side, those black things there. And you can see the corrosion that's on these top hat rectifiers. Now you can see there's going to be virtually impossible to get a wrench in there or a pair of pliers or anything. So once these nuts are removed and everything's loose, there's no way I'm going to support the board. It's just going to be hanging in there if I put it back. And there's another nut and bolt over there. And this is a little wider angle view. I set the focus on the camera to a little further out, so it's not right on super macro and magnification. And you can see it's very, very hard, if not impossible, to get in there, to get any tools in there to work on it. And I have no idea how anybody is supposed to be able to service this thing. But I have a feeling that if I can replace the capacitors and a diode, I may have a working scope. Well, that's about it. You saw what I saw there, so I don't know. It's going to be a tough one for me, but I'm not going to just give up. I'll put it off to the side if I can't fix it. Okay, so that's the story here. I don't know how much you got from that microscope footage, but at least you can see how much of a job it's going to be to get that board out. And the only thing I can think of is just try to get it out, and probably if I can get it out and there's an L bracket, I can put a bolt through this way, nut it on the bracket, and have the rest of the bolt coming out this end and put a nut on it. In other words, backwards than what this is here, so that if that board ever has to come out again, you just slide it back after you take the nuts off here. That's the only thing I can think of. How the hell does anybody assemble something like this, let alone working on it? I still say these are not meant to be serviced. They're throwaways. I hate to say it. As old as this thing is, they're not meant to be serviced, because how the hell is a guy supposed to work on it? All right. Thank you for watching. And stay tuned for part 3. But I have to order some 60 microfarad, 50 volt electrolytic axle leads. And then I'll attempt to take it out. I won't do that before then. Thanks for watching.